with my daughter napping and my son reading some Captain Underpants. My wife and I team up to take on some of the best things streaming has to offer. Welcome back for more of Our Thoughts. No time for binging. We continue through the Umbrella Academy Season 1, this time, Episode 3, entitled Extraordinary. We begin 5 years in the past. Vanya walks up to a pawn shop to see some old Umbrella Academy comic books. She's actually there to buy a typewriter. Old school. To type what we assume is the tell-all book. Obviously, she's had all this pent-up aggression towards her father for how he raised them. But what was the straw to break the camel's back that inspired her to write this in the first place? Then there's this fantastic voiceover of a passage from Vanya's book. Family and name. Not in fact. After Ben died, nothing was holding them together. Ben was the glue to the family? They do this montage of shots of the kids. Luther working out, Allison getting her hair and makeup done, Diego punching a page from the book, Klaus in rehab, again. She says they were strangers in a room, destined to be alone. Luther, starved for attention. Allison, damaged by upbringing. Diego, haunted by what might have been. Klaus, wanted to be loved by a man who was incapable of love. 5. How come there wasn't a line for Ben? Thought from my wife. This montage goes back to the dance scene in episode 1, where they're dancing alone. The children appear to be isolated, but they're connected by the shared experience of being raised in that house. Today, Vanya's running late for a rehearsal of some sort. Everyone stops when she's rummaging for her violin. The conductor burns her by saying he had not noticed her absence. Vanya looks longingly at the girl's several chairs ahead of her. Raining outside. Orchestrated umbrellas for the show title reveal. Are they going to reveal the title of the show something similar to that every time? If so, I'm in. The surveillance tape that Allison found in the previous episode was actually of Sir Reggie dying of his heart failure. The mom apparently gave him something that caused it? How can their robot mom be capable of murder? Luther then questions their mom about the evening that Sir Reggie died. Allison pries a little deeper. Then their robot mom has some sort of emotional reaction when she's thinking about the kids keeping her oh so busy. Then she stops. Happy face, eggs and bacon. Diego and Eudora at the department store. Apparently bullet casings were found that haven't been manufactured since 1963. This lends to the idea that Hazel and Cha-Cha can travel through time. Or are they issued guns that are almost 60 years old? Or are the guns time travelers? Since Hazel and Cha-Cha tortured that tow truck driver, now the police are looking for the kid, aka 5. Vanya in the bathroom at the recital place. She compliments the violin player that she was staring at. Then, first chair girl wrecks Vanya for not having something special inside her to help her move up from third chair. That cut deep. And Vanya pops another pill. Let's talk about that pill. I've assumed this entire time that the pill was some sort of antidepressant, but she seems to be taking them at the more stressful times of day, not as prescribed. As a fake doctor, I would not recommend this. Again, not a doctor. Hazel and Cha-Cha back at the motel. The lady is cauterizing her wound with a hair straightener. My wife thinks it's a hair curler. I'm probably wrong, but somebody tell me in the comments. There's a pneumatic tube hidden in the bathroom? This is a motel. How is something like that hidden? What kind of voodoo magic is this? They got a message about pay reduction. What in the corporate red tape is going on? Cut to 5, who's stitching his own wound. Did you see the Billy the Choo-Choo Band-Aids? We come to Klaus looking through the dumpster for the item that he stole from his dad, so Pogo will leave him alone. Klaus offers to clear his schedule so he can tag along with 5. Oh, thank God he found that old bagel. Commitment to a bit. I love you, even though you can't love yourself. 5 steals a van in order to tail the eye doctor. Then there's this obvious, kind of lazy, exposition through 5's weird deal with talking to Dolores. Fine, as long as it moves the plot along. So Mom's name is Grace. My wife points out, Luther began the conversation by calling her Mom, then calls her Grace for the duration, possibly as a way of detaching himself from what he believes they have to do about Mom. Luther then tries to reconnect with Allison by asking her about what happened with her husband and her daughter. Apparently, Allison has to go to therapy before she's allowed to even see her daughter. Allison used her rumor power on her own daughter. As a parent, I can see where she would feel so desperate to use her power on a melting 3-year-old. Luther talks about time healing things. Allison believes some things just stay broken. I feel like Luther is that teenager that's stuck in the friend zone. Vanya shows up at Leonard's woodworking shop. Another awkward exchange. He invites her in. Leonard apparently stayed up all night, carving Vanya out of a piece of wood playing a violin. First, that's the type of thing a serial killer would do. Second, this guy has known her for an hour. Leonard's a creeper. So they go for a walk for another awkward conversation that Leonard turns into asking her on a date. Wife points out that Vanya says Leonard knows her better than anyone in her family. I beg to differ with Vanya. I don't think Leonard has ever read her book that clearly the rest of the family did. Wife points out that her family knows her better because they grew up with her. So, in this big old city, Allison randomly walks up to Vanya and Leonard? Come on! Is Allison's other superpower that she's incredibly lucky? So there's going to be a family meeting. Allison and Vanya finally have a sisterly conversation before heading back to the house. Five has been staked out in this van for so long. He sees kids playing outside the van. It was like he was witnessing the childhood he never had. Then there's this amazing visual of ash coming down inside the van. Then he has a vision or dream of being stuck back in the destroyed future. So then Luther randomly finds Five in the stakeout van. Hilarious attempt to get into the van. He's so big. I was about to freak out at the odds of Luther randomly finding Five, until it was revealed he found him because of Klaus. Once again, Klaus steals the scene by requesting privacy with Dolores. I love their brotherly interactions. Luther proclaims himself leader of the family, just as my wife pointed out in episode 2. He believes Five thinks he's better than everyone else. Five knows he's better. Humble much? He's done unimaginable things. And then Klaus randomly robs a convenience store? What was the point of that? Was he high? Was he hungry? Why is Klaus the best? Back at Gritty's diner, the big guy, I still don't know if he's Hazel or Cha-Cha, is questioning Agnes about the donuts at the store. He also wants info on number 5, and this is his second donut. Agnes means pure. I'm gonna have to check on that. Yeah, that checks out. The big guy seems to have some sort of affection for Agnes. It's subtle, but it's there. His demeanor changed when his partner re-entered the room. Then Agnes gives up the information on the tattoo that she saw on Five's arm, and the umbrella tattoos come back to haunt them. Family meeting at the mansion. Even with the surveillance tape, Diego and Vanya still don't believe it. Diego owns up to taking the monocle. He admits he threw it away, and the fight is about to happen. No, Vanya! Get out of the way! Wife point. Vanya claims in her book that they really weren't a family, but Luther and Diego bicker like brothers, and Vanya feels the need to step in between them out of a protective instinct. Vanya just doesn't see the family that they grew to become. Luther suggests it's time to shut down their robot mom. I never thought I'd say that sentence. Diego clearly has a son-like devotion to his mom, so the family is now voting on whether or not to shut her down, so they're not going to make a decision without Five. Sir Reggie built and programmed the mom to be the comforting presence that he didn't want to be or couldn't be. Vanya does try to defend their dad in that moment by prescribing the love from their mom as being from their dad. Diego says Sir Reggie only loved himself, and Vanya takes another pill. Flashback to an alarm going off in the house. The kids, now actually kids, scramble for the things that they need before a mission. Awesome montage of the mom going from room to check on the kids to make sure they're getting what they need. It's a pretty cool shot. Then there's this sweet, sweet moment of the mom comforting and reassuring Diego as he practices saying, "Don't move," in the mirror. Diego overcame some kind of a stutter with the help of the mom. My wife questions, is the mom today the result of the programming of Sir Reggie, or is she capable of evolving beyond the programming and show genuine love and affection? If she is capable of evolving, then she is capable of intentionally hurting Sir Reggie. But if all she is programming, then none of the love that she showed was genuine and would destroy Diego. Diego goes to talk to the mom. She has a cross stitch to finish. Wait, Sir Reggie was an Olympic gold medalist? In what event? So I googled the name Reginald Hargreaves. I found out there was a Reginald Hargreaves in the 1800s who was a famous cricket player. He married a woman by the name of Alice Liddell, who, as a young girl, inspired Lewis Carroll in his writing of Alice in Wonderland. I wonder how much Alice in Wonderland stuff might be hidden in this show. Finally, the eyeball doctor comes out of the building. The doctor puts something into a shady car in front of the building and gets an envelope in return and runs away. What? Hazel and Cha-Cha show up at the Hargreaves mansion. Oh crap, stuff's about to go down. They blow out the bolt on the door. Finally, they tell me that the lady is Cha-Cha and the big guy is Hazel. Klaus is taking a bath. Whispers. Images of people screaming at him. I'm assuming they're dead people. He is so stressed out, so he listens to music. I feel like Hazel and Cha-Cha are about to get wrecked. We catch Luther staring at the moon. Missing home. He and Allison have a conversation, which, for the first time, I can imagine them being cute together. I hope this moment passes quickly. Diego walks into frame. Hazel and Cha-Cha don their masks, and here we go. Now fight! Are their masks made of metal? For being the specialist that they are, Hazel and Cha-Cha sure subscribe to the Stormtrooper school of shooting at things, and their mom continues doing cross-stitch. Who the hell are these guys? Who the hell are these people? I've legit been asking that for multiple episodes. Why do they have to wear those masks? Are they protective? Then the rest of their body should be covered in armor. Wife thinks that if Hazel and Cha-Cha are time travelers, maybe they can't have their faces recognized when they draw too much attention to themselves. Ooh, maybe it's protocol. Back to bureaucracy. Hazel randomly opens a case and pulls out a mace. Ooh, I was a poet that wasn't aware. Then Vanya shows up, and Vanya gets knocked down. Luther and Hazel fight as another awesome song plays called Sinner Man. Look it up. All the while, Klaus is being awesome, dancing around in towel and headphones. Allison takes on Cha-Cha with pool cues. Allison doesn't want to use her power. She thinks that she can just take her in a fight. My wife had to remind me that Allison is trying not to use her power, due to her explanation that her power has gotten her everything that she's ever wanted in life. My wife also said that Allison explained that in an earlier scene. I probably just wasn't paying attention. In my defense, I was probably getting pretzels. My wife countered, or waiting for Klaus to show up. Guilty. Diego gets in on the action with a foosball pole. Then Diego curves a knife. Awesome. Then tries to get Klaus's attention. What can Klaus even do in a fight? How was Klaus's power even helpful when they were kids? Was Klaus the Planeteer whose power was heart? Luther beats the crap out of Hazel, but then Hazel suplexes Luther. Is Hazel as strong as Luther? Cha-Cha then escapes by dropping a chandelier on Luther. Amazing. Luther gets up with a torn shirt to reveal his entire body, with the exception of his head, is a gorilla body. What is happening? Diego finally checks in on the mom after Hazel and Cha-Cha are gone. The mom apparently didn't notice a thing, and now she's cross-stitching onto her own hand? This is really sad. Diego realizes the choice he has to make. He opens up some circuits on the mom's forearm. He then shuts her down after she tries one last time to help him form the words in his head to overcome his stutter. Diego, remember. I wonder if this phrase will have a callback later in the season. Aftermath of the fight, Diego's taking out his anger on Vanya. Vanya's the only one who never trained for a fight when they were kids. Daddy? Yep. My daughter woke up from her nap. She's 2, you can't blame her. I'm almost done, let's try to wrap this up. My wife said she was literally about to write that Diego treats Vanya like a liability. Then he yells at her that she's a liability. Wife points. Wife says, it's apparent that Diego is the one that pushes back on Vanya the most. He's very harsh with her every chance he gets. Luther gets back to his room. So at the beginning of the episode, we saw Luther shirtless doing push-ups. Clearly this body transformation is within the last 5 years. Vanya shows up at Leonard's place. She didn't know where else to go. She has known this guy for like 2 days. I'm painting Vanya in my head as that silly teenager that always says, but I love him. Back at the motel, Hazel's getting a bed massage, and he stopped to get a jelly donut. Either he really likes donuts, or he really likes Agnes. Cha-Cha calls the night a total loss. Not so fast. They kidnapped Klaus. Everyone everyone else is wearing a mask. There are not enough exclamation points to describe my fear as to what they're going to do to Klaus. And the sound of my son needing my attention while my wife bathes my daughter means that we're done for this episode. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us next time as we review episode 4, Man on the Moon.